growing or becoming like a buzzword and things like that. A little introduction about me. So I am John Rodrigues. I'm a design engineer. I'm based here in the Bay Area, California. And then I founded a human AI studio, and I'll tell a little bit about that. And then previously I worked in JP Morgan and Citibank, so extensive fintech experience. I also, before I got into enterprise, I was into startups. And now through my studio, I've been mostly working with the growths to Series A, Series B kind of startups. And I've been a designer for over 10 years. And then I started as an engineer, studied that formally, and then came to do my master's in user experience and interaction design. And then since then, I joined like startups, and then Toka Football had built their mobile web apps, and they had raised 25 million in funding. Then I went to work for enterprises, where at City I worked on their credit card experience. So if you ever apply for a credit card through Citibank, it's me and my team had worked on it. And then I also working with the leadership there to explore how AI can be integrated in the city's experience. This is when the early days of like AI booming, 4 or 5 years where ChatGPT and everything was like kind of slowly blowing up. And at JP Morgan also, I started working on the banking platform there, and then integrating AI in our workflows and experiences and augmenting our team's abilities and doing workshops and everything. But today I'm here to share focused on like design engineering and how to augment your capabilities and with AI, and even like why now in this, how the way things are changing. So this is a studio I founded recently. It's a human AI studio. We focus on three things. One is helping our clients design 0 to 1 AI native products. And then the second, we focus on building systems. Currently, we are doing an R&D on agentic design systems, and then helping our clients to build design systems that are agent ready. So whenever people prompt and like build, so it's not drifting from your brand and experience, and also integrating agents to automate some of the repetitive workflows in it. And then the third focus is like the academy, where we do workshop trainings and write about share our research through our publication and everything. So today we're going to focus on this core things. One is like what actually design engineering is. Um, where what's the biggest problem? As designers, we know we are very much like problem focused. So I feel like there's a big problem right now, and how this design engineering is kind of solving it. Whereas the opportunity is what how AI has changed things, and how much code do you need to learn, and then how the role is shifting, and the skills that worth building in this age of AI. I know everybody's like struggling to figure out what should I even learn. AI can uh, do things so fast now, and then we'll get into that. Yeah. So this isn't a new role. Like Google and other companies, they already had this. Even like Apple, they had like prototypers who would like do design and code. Google had this role called like UX engineer. This role existed even when I started in design. This existed, but I've been pure product designer for a while. But now I didn't even know how I became a design engineer. I naturally started working more in like developer tools and like using design and code at the same time. And it was a bit harder before, but now with AI, like it just accelerated the workflow. But it's truly the intersection of like, one is your product thinking as a designer. You do your research, prototyping, iterations, and understand where the business needs to go, what the user pain points are. That product thinking is still very essential. People think like if you're a design engineer that you only be sitting and like implementing things. That's not true. It's just like another add-on to your design experience. And it's an intersection of like knowing like good front-end code, and then your UX and UI expertise, and then product thinking. And it kind of sits in intersection of all that. And if you see like our roles are getting very much blended now with like product management, product design, engineering, and everything is getting. It's definitely not a replacement to a full stack, like a full engineering role, because there's still a lot of depth depth to it. But as a designer, you don't really wait for somebody to like implement it. You can use AI to kind of build and prototype and test it out with the users and things like that. But your user-centered mindset and human-centered approach is still very important, and that's what people still value. That people have this misconception. It's like, oh, design engineering is technical, that they're just like implementing. It's not. It's just like making your abilities more better, but ability to have go and build it. um so here's the big problem that's happening in the industry, and it's like a growing pain point, right? Like every role evolves or becomes important if it's solving a problem for the business and the company and things like that. So over the years, this handoff tax is like increasing, right? Designers design something, and the engineering builds something else, and then there's that gap and then inconsistency. At the end, your customer and the client suffers. I mean, the user suffers, and your stakeholders are frustrated. Why is this so much gap? What's happening? And it's not just about the UI inconsistencies in the handoff that's missing. It's also the intent, right? There's intent that embedded in every feature and experience that you're designing your product. It also get lost. At the end, your clients, your customers are the one that's suffering. And with AI is drastically changing our interfaces, right? It's not no longer like just like static. It's like multimodal. There is like voice, there is like dynamic UI, there is like interactions that are changing and everything. There are agents coming and talking through the software. The software is getting more like proactive. Those is really even hard to even I became a design engineer, not that it was cool. It's because it became a very necessity in my studio to serve my clients and also at my work I was doing, because even interfaces are getting like very proactive, conversational, and all that stuff. And then for multimodal experience, we'll speak a little bit about that, what that is. It's very important to understand the interface, but also how things work behind the scenes, right? Good design is the balance of form and function. So when you're working with voice and stuff, you can't really sit with a static screen and explore like what the output and all this should be. You are like designing the context and working with like voice APIs and things like that. And then right now with agentic product, our studio focuses primarily on AI native products. It almost next to impossible to ship products with waterfall method. Like designers design this UI and then the engineers implement it, and then that waterfall approach is not working. And as I was working in multiple industries and clients, I saw this is not working. For example, designers can't just like create like a chat UI with like map out each and every output and like give it to the engineers to implement it. With AI, it does not work. We work in probabilistic systems, and the agent, we need to actually build out the context, prototype the actual chat experience, see if the output is matching to the user's intent and all that stuff. So you're not replacing an engineer, you're just making engineers' life a bit more better because you are prototyping it actually with code and testing things out and making sure you're building products that people can trust, right? So these are the three growing pain points, right? In the handoff tags, like, and it's very expensive for companies to have this like design engineering handoff. It costs like even like millions of dollars, and when you work for enterprises and stuff like that. And then even like design systems, when you're working in like design systems, we are focusing on like agentic design system right now. You kind of have to, we are starting with like code and then working up back towards the canvas and stuff like that, because the code is a language that agents understand better, because now our consumers are not just humans but also AI. So we need to like design for both. The agents are also need to understand your products, and like if you build a design system, your agents need to understand the design system, because people are prompting and like building things, right? They're vibe coding and all that stuff. So if it's not, the agent don't understand it, it's almost no point of building any of these systems, right? And this is it's static tools to multimodal. This is very an exciting opportunity for designers. And then when you're designing multimodal, there is, when I say multimodal, includes like voice, and then the videos and images, all that stuff, right? Those are like multi-modality. And then agentic products, there's a lot of things goes into these interactions, right? The timing, the state, the motion, and everything. That's really hard to do with like a static lens. And then you can't really like spec before. For a longest time we used to like design the screen and spec out each and every interfaces and then like give it to the engineers. That doesn't really work anymore for multimodal experiences. And that even when you build like AI native products, the waterfall approach, it's not working, right? People are experimenting, prototyping extensively. And before, it was very hard to make a complex prototype. It's easy to make a simple prototype in Figma and show it on YouTube and Instagram, and those is, even I do that, right? It's very easy. But when you work for a very large team, there are like 30-40 screens, or like complex interactions and stuff in your products. When you even work in like fintech products, there are like so many flows and content that comes up, and there's like some copies like very like legal related stuff. If you miss that, you can get sued and all that stuff. So all those problems happens when you think in a very one-dimensional way. But when you think in like systems, and when you can like prototype experiences that shows that dynamic states and stuff, and then it also helps engineers. People might think that, oh, I'm going to just replace a front-end engineer. There's still more depth to that, even in this age of AI. Like there are like two levels to it, right? The first level is like people are just like vibe coding and shipping products. But when you work in a larger team, and where or also the high stake environments, where even one mistake can cost like millions of dollars, and reputation to them, brand trust and people trust and things like that. There's this, the depth is still valued. Now you might feel like, oh, those roles will not exist, but it still happens. But the point here is like that waterfall approach is kind of like breaking, and then that's where like design engineering kind of is filling that gap. So you kind of have to, at this age of AI, you almost have to work in like a complete loop, from thinking like a product manager to thinking like a product designer, and also as a like an engineer, because that helps you design better experiences for your users and clients, and even just to like stay relevant in this age of AI, to keep your career success proof. And it's almost like it's also very fun to just design, to design and build at the same time, because you can experience a product and use it. And I think there's no more joy for designers to actually use their product and then identify gaps, and then kind of solve those things. And when I work with this like loop of design and engineering together, I start identifying some of the usability problem or heuristic problems in these prototypes that I'm building. And then also we are building products now agents need to use too. That's a very big use case right now. And design is still the real, like the medium, right? It's when Figma's config this year, Dylan said like, code is the material of design. And then you are still designing, but you're just designing with code, right? Let's say you are designing like a chat interface, you are exploring different states. For example, agents, AI has like limitations of like latency, or like the models need to think. So there's like a loading state and all that stuff. So it's very hard to do that in a static medium. That's where your motion, timing, and everything comes into picture. So in Twitter and everything, you see like these cool animations and think, oh, this is design engineering, right? It is one part of it, and I really enjoy that. But as a designer, you're bringing that intentionality to your products, and you're bringing this animations and interactions, not because it's cool, it's because also the limitations of AI nowadays, because there's like a thinking time AI has, and there's like a loading state, and the users might be waiting and they get drop offs. You're trying to solve the problem through design, but you're using code as a medium, and you're technically not really writing line by line code anymore. You just prompt and the agents write it for you. You're technically not coding, the agent is coding, but you're almost like coming in as an architect, and you're thinking and you're strategizing, and that conceptualizing mindset is very essential. The AI is not magic, like it's not just gonna go and do without you initiating things, at least now. So it's still very important to have that design approach even while coding. Um, and then it also brings out like how much code should I even learn, right? So yeah, and also like you are in a you will be able to communicate better with your stakeholders, because they're not just telling, oh, you just think about design, you don't understand the tech, but you'll be able to bring like conversations around API databases, the front end and everything. You'll be able to have rich conversations in the rooms. You'll be there so you can make better influence and everything, right? Like even when I work with my studio clients and stuff, they can't just like tell, oh, you just like think of the design. We bring the conversation of both design engineering mindset. You become more valuable as a designer. um, AI did make it easier to write that front end code, but the judgment is still very hard, and that's why that combination of like technical mindset and design, I feel like it's a lot about judgment nowadays in this age of AI. So still, it's very important. And before, the front end work is to take all like weeks and months and stuff, but now with like the floors have gone down. And then like with few prompts you can do the whole thing. Like when I built the prototypes and clients for things, we are building like very fast iterations. um, and then also when we present this work to the stakeholders and stuff, you're not just showing like 500 static screens and stuff and confusing your stakeholders. You are showing actual demos and prototypes, and building demos is very hard. And Apple has this culture, right? And I always admire that's like, oh, I need to create this demos too. And then now it's like easier to build like functional products, put it in the hands of the users and stuff like that. And this is a prototype of like a voice assistant I've been working, where I'm actually using like voice APIs that and what do you say, actual OpenAI's APIs and stuff to bring intelligence to the product. So the taste is still very important. I know it's a highly spoken. It's nobody even understands what taste is at this moment. Like everybody has a different meaning to it. But I kind of see taste as your judgments, and for designers, it is still associated with visual design and stuff. That still does matter because it's a growing pain point of AI slops right now, and all products are like looking the same. There needs to be designers who can bring personality to this product, and they are still very much valued. And then you can work with like motion, like when you it's much easier now to make like animations and motions with code, rather than doing tweaking each and every layer and like trying to do that for hours and hours. And when I was working in like the enterprises and stuff, we were trying to bring delight to our product through animations and stuff, and I was using like React and React motions and things to kind of create animations and stuff. It's nowadays there's a lot of libraries and resources that can help you with all that. um, and yeah, I think it's make before building was harder, but now building is easier, but knowing what to build is very the important part. So design engineering gives you like that superpower to ability to kind of like do both. And then you might be curious like, John, how much code should I learn? The best part about this is like you just need to learn 20-30% of the code, and the rest 80% let the AI handle it. You don't really need to be a full stack engineer. I feel like if you got into design engineering at 2 years or 1 year down the line, you'll probably become more of a product engineer too. And then it does not mean you're focusing on implementation, but you are also focusing product thinking, the user experience design, and now you can like build it. But I think like the before like the demos values also is kind of like going down now. People are expecting to do production stuff. But so that's why it's still important to understand the fundamentals and foundations. So learning HTML, Tailwind, CSS, React, and Next.js, those are some of the stacks can be super helpful. You'll probably at this point know HTML and CSS, and then I would highly recommend to learn React and React Native if you're working on native mobile apps and stuff. But you don't really need to know all of it. You just need to know more of the 20-30%. When I started, I didn't really know. I knew HTML, CSS, and all that stuff, and engineering did give some foundations. But then I didn't really know some of this new stack. But I just saw agent building things, and I like saw like the patterns, and then it's like, oh, this like a component is built in the same way. It's just like a different, output, but the patterns of this remains the same. And then with Cloud Code, Codex, and all that stuff, and this coding agents are getting really good at writing. Like it can even sometimes write better than an experienced engineer. But like knowing how to make it like production ready, those things are still very important. And there are roles that are paying like 300K to 500,000 to who can understand like both and design like native experiences and stuff. And there was one interview I gave before I went full time in my studio. It's like that was around like 500,000 in role, but they were expecting me to like know this technical part, design part, product thinking part, and then also I think very important thing is systems mindset. That's very important. And once you have a systems mindset, when I mean it can exist in two layers. One is like the service design, the user experience mindset, but also the technical mindset, how the agents kind of work and stuff like that. Because the cost for an agent drifting or going wrong in production, or when you put it in the hands of the people, that could be millions of loss for a company that operates with so many things. So it's very important that you are bringing that mindset to the companies. So the 20% is enough. I think if you asked me 2-3 years back before AI, I was like, yeah, learn that all of it, write each and line of code. But now you just need to understand how it works, how it's things are built and things like that. And then, yeah, I've been a big advocate of vibe coding, but I feel like now with the vibe coding will just get you enough, but you still need to understand your fundamentals and foundation and understand how the code works, like just the literacy part of it, to able to do like agentic experiences and things like that. Um, so when we work with our clients and stuff like that, it feels actually nice to put this product in the hands of in their hands and able to test it. And even like we are doing user testing and things like that, you are actually putting this product, the dynamic states and everything, and then testing it with the users. And then you can see some of the animations and stuff to bring delight. And in fintech products, it's very important to know if users can even complete the task. When I was working at like Citibank, there was like what do you say, the balance transfer workflow improvements and stuff. Even a drop, 1% drop in the conversion, like cost like $2-3 million to them. And then with good UX and stuff, and then able to prototype and test it with the users, it's still like bringing that 2-3 million more when you solve that conversion problem, right? But also I feel like the product needs to have some soul and delight. I believe in that, because it builds a good brand association and stuff. So with our client projects and stuff, you're able to build out the design and code together and bring more values. And then in our studios, we also be doing a lot of like agent ready design system research. It's there on my YouTube. You can go watch it. I publicly shared all the two parts of it, and then more coming. But this helps, and we are starting this with like code, because this is the language agents understand better, and then going back to the canvas, so humans can understand it. And also while developing agents, you need to understand how agents work, the APIs, how it's connect to data and things, or else like will be your output of your product would be bad. So you really need to understand how this things work. For that, having the code literacy plays a very big role to create like agentic and AI native experiences. And then we'll go into the questions, and then these are the 5-6 takeaways for you. Yeah, design engineering is just the overlap of design engineering and product thinking. You are not completely pushed into production. You're just adding that superpower to your product design or UX design or whatever kind of a design do you do. And it's also like fun. It's really joyful to build what you design. And then there is one thing I'm for sure is that handoff culture is kind of like going away. And designers nowadays are even pushing things to production. Um, and with this age of AI native and multimodal things are like growing, and it's like very exciting opportunity for designers to kind of build things. You might feel like where this is even heading, but I feel there's a bright future for designers. And you can see that trends like forward deployed engineers and stuff like that. But I think like designers have that more empathy and able to uh, think through the user problem and able to build. That's actually a superpower. Building is getting cheaper, but that the taste, judgments, and interactions, creates that rich experience. And just learn 20% of the code, rest agents can handle it. And then nowadays, like it's so easy, you can just ask LLM to teach you, and you can learn from that as well. But overall, the exciting opportunity to become design engineers and able to not just design, but design what you imagine and create better experiences for the users. Happy to take any questions. And then this is my LinkedIn. If you all want to connect on LinkedIn, you all can connect with me. Yeah, let's take questions.
Thank you so much, John, for giving us such an inspiring and detailed way on how to automate and to facilitate our work with AI and what does it mean in terms of the design engineering. So now I'm going to hand over the mic to Bo, and she's going to take over all the questions you submitted in the Google link. And also, if you would like to ask question live, feel free to raise your hand.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Yeah. Before we go into the question, is there anyone wants to raise hand or ask anything to John first? I think we have Hiroshi. Please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation. So my name is Hiroshi. I work in the B2B energy sector. And for now, I also work as a product designer, but kind of slowly transitioning into design engineering as well. And one of the biggest pain points for me personally, when kind of dealing with design systems, so we still have Figma as like the single source of truth when it comes to design system. And lately, and with the effort from the team, we did build replicated the whole design system in Cloud Code, because now the Cloud Design has the kind of the native design system input and output. And my struggle is whenever there are some like really minor trivial design component updates, or say we have like in B2B, like table is always like the biggest pain point, right? And when we have like a really massive table, and then we have to update the cell components inside, and this kind of it kind of triggers an avalanche, and it's really difficult to communicate that to Claude and eventually make the handoff to the dev as smoothly as possible. And I'm just wondering, maybe two questions for you. Sorry. First one, have you already moved on from Figma, that you are just using whatever AI build design system as the single source of truth when communicating? And second of all, when this kind of these components updates that can have domino effects, how do you communicate that with the rest of the dev team?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very growing pain point, and it's not a challenge of a designer. It's like a tooling problem that we've been having. Has like the tools are not agent ready, so that creating that lot of problems to like people's collaborations and stuff. And then I feel like Figma definitely is working towards like fundamentally changing their architecture to, I don't know yet, I'm just predicting, but to make it like AI ready, because right now that gap you are seeing between your Cloud Code build out design systems and versus the design the Figma, right now they are not like synced, right? So that's the problem that creates that hard for agents to retrieve, and also like creating this human problems, collaboration problem, what you have in Figma and then code and that not being synced and stuff like that. I'm in our studio, we're doing this like research to bridge that gap through like proactive agents automating these things. But right now Figma has a lot of work to do in order to solve that problem. So it needs to be solved from the tooling level. It's really hard to solve from where we are right now from a design lens. But one thing I would and I know the pain point of the data tables working in fintech. They are like the most 80% of everybody's headache. But I think like companies definitely needs to start investing, making like agent-ready design system in order to solve those problems. And that's kind of still in R&D, and that's why we're doing like in the studio and stuff like that. But I think you can still like manually do things like when this update happens, like still communicate, collaborate, and all that stuff, and then see if you can maintain the consistent sync between the Figma and the code. But I feel like the design system eventually will be like invisible, that you don't even see them. They just become context to your agents, and design systems teams will mostly become like a maintenance and like not maintenance, like infrastructure layer to the design teams and stuff. But that problem is still real. I recommend to just manually do it. But I think we will solve it in a year or two, at least like my studio will like solve it. So in terms of using Figma or not using Figma, I think when you work for large companies and enterprise, that collaboration is still important, so you still use it. But some of the client projects that I do, like growth stage startups and stuff like that, everything remains like in like Cursor, Cloud Code, and everything. Even the design system is built out in the code, so the agents can understand better. And I was able to accomplish like 95% accuracy between the design system and what's been built and stuff. But most of the client project directly in like code, and then Figma we still use mostly for explorations and collaboration and ideation, and then Figma slides and FigJam and all that stuff been used. But I think it's much better if design system completely exists in code, unless Figma does something that the code get renders in the Figma canvas through like Code Connect or something like that. But I think that still like in development, and that's why it's that pain point is real. But I would suggest like manually solve it. Still use Figma for like large team collaboration. But eventually, I think like the companies need to do a very big rehaul of the design systems for sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I would recommend learn agentic design system on my YouTube or anything like that, and help your companies to do that. It's a very big opportunity right now.
Yeah, we'll check them out later. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, John and Hiroshi. Is there anyone else want to ask anything? Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi, John. Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And yeah, big fan of you from LinkedIn and your YouTube. So
Thanks.
yeah, I'm from India, so based in New Delhi and Bangalore back and forth. So I've been into the enterprise design industry for the last 4 years. So right now, as I am seeing a shift right here is that the enterprises from India are not evolving on that rapid pace as the West is doing, or let's say the product-based organizations are doing. So although the dev team is using Cloud Code at a very rapid pace, but we are still in the product thinking phase. And like my projects mostly since the last 3 or 4 years in my industry experience. So most of my project like experience of, like with the good clients and like with the government and mostly with the US-based enterprises. So as I'm switching from here to the product-based organization, let's say in India itself, or let's say in Europe or somewhere other. So what are the like expectations for the recruiters or the hiring managers in this new age of AI? So because most people are saying that you can build, let's say, your own complete one small product for them to review, let's say apart from your own experience, you can build a small product that you are using, or maybe your friend circle is using. That's from
Mhm.
end-to-end product that you have used. So what is your take on it? So yeah, like the root of the question is from
Mm.
like switching from the enterprise to the product based on that.
Mm.
So how
That's
that
a
is
great
happening.
question. I worked in enterprise, and now I'm kind of like going back to through my studio. We've been doing like growth stage startup, and we also gonna help enterprise eventually. But I think the most companies in the world are not AI ready, and they're not AI native by nature. So it makes it really hard how these tools are changing and how companies are operating right now. That's why that waterfall approach is breaking. If the design system is not AI native, then this creating a lot of problems and stuff. So I think to answer your question, what are the expectations while hiring in these AI native companies? I think it's not really a West and India problem too. It's even happening here. It's even like largest company with like billions in, $1 billion companies with millions in like R&D for AI. It's still figuring things out. We are still early, I feel. We might feel like, oh, we're gonna like left. We feel FOMO of things are changing, but we are still early. Everybody's still figuring out yet, and nobody knows. But that's why, like through my studio, I've been helping. But in terms of expectations, what you mentioned was there are two levels to it. The level one is just being fluent with using AI tools like Claude Code, Cursor, and Codex, and able to understand how agents work, and having that built up small product of your own. That's still a very portfolio or conversation piece. When I was interviewing before I started my studio, is I just the most fun conversation was like, what did you build? What did you learn from it? What was your R&D and stuff like that? So sharing that was like my best part. So I kind of knowing those tooling fluency is how you use AI in your workflow. That is like non-negotiable. That should be the baseline. And if you don't get to do that in your company, just do it outside work and bring that as like your side projects and stuff. And that's how I got into the room in conversations with it. And the level two, this is the hardest part, is building not just using the tools, building agentic experiences. Have you designed agent experience? Have you managed how the agents drift and the outputs and how it's like handled and all that stuff? So actual agentic and proactive experiences that people are still figuring that out, but that's like the level two, I would say, to do that. So I would suggest like, yeah, build on your side project, get fluent using AI tools. The best way to learn AI is not through like courses or anything. Even though we do that, I would still recommend to do it by building things and then having like the community to kind of like help each other out and stuff like that. And the level two is actually designing this agentic experiences. I think that is going to be like more valuable nowadays. And there's a big gap right now, designers who can do that. Yeah.
Yes, because earlier, maybe last month or last month, I've appeared in just one or two interviews. Like I got a call from the client. So mostly they were like got excited when I told them that I'm learning the cloud things and the AI experiences on the side. But from their own work, mostly they are actually based on the UX fundamentals. They
Mm.
wanted only the UX fundamentals for their projects. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah. I mean, you need to pick a company that has that culture too. I think it's very important that you be selective of the company that you want to work for.
yeah,
Yeah, I have heard that in the interviews too. I go to this interviews and there's like, oh yeah, we still traditional, and then I was like, oh, that's probably not a good fit for us.
yeah,
So yeah, so you got to be selective of it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rishabh and John.
Mm.
Anyone else? Okay, if we don't have any live QA, maybe I can go through the question that we submit. Let me share the screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, I think Can start with the first one. Yeah, how do you balance building a design system first versus like using AI to generate design without one? Would you tell stakeholders to do design system?
Yeah. So, so when you're working, like it depends on the stages of your project. Sometimes we're just like prototyping and exploring an idea. I've heard designers from like OpenAI, Cursor, and all these big companies. They sometimes even like just skip design systems and then they just like prototype to see if it's solving the problem, explore interactions and things like that. So they're just like prototyping without those design system constraints to focus on the user experience first. But when you're going in a place like, okay, I explored the concept, I really want to go to like production and show it to the stakeholders and stuff like that. And then I think that time, and if you struggle with design system, I'll telling you it's not your fault. It's not that you don't have the skill. We are genuinely struggling with the tooling and the infrastructure problem. And then I think people are solving it. So don't blame yourself. It's still like very early and it's getting shaped over time. But I think I would suggest like, even if you don't have design system, yeah, design, focus on the experience, user experience, and try to solve what are the users' jobs to be done and what's the problem and solve it. You don't really need a design system for that. But when you work in an enterprise or company that is like strict mandate and things like that, then you can explore the components from the design system, use that while coding. So this is easy. This is like solved, right? When you're working in Cursor, you just reference that component and it will take and build it. AI right now like generates a lot of components without being in the design system. So you just have to do it manual QA. But I think that's getting automated. So we are building agents for that. So do you tell the stakeholders to do the design system? Yeah, I think first you need to get the buy-in. You need to, if you're trying to sell a design system to your stakeholders, you need to communicate it through a business lens, like how it will save time, how it save engineering time and design time, and how it helps the brand and stuff like that. Try to communicate through from a lens of business and not really like, oh, we need design system because everybody has it. But yeah, I think you definitely need to get stakeholder buy-in. Like every company has like the sponsors who can like give you that time or budget to do it. So I think it's very important to communicate with the stakeholders here.
Thank you so much. The next one, to make strong architectural and design decision, what topic do you keep your knowledge up to date on versus leaving it to AI?
Okay, to make strong architecture and design decision, what topics do you keep to your knowledge up to date? Yeah, I think you kind of, at this age of AI, you kind of have to be one step ahead of the LLMs. LLMs kind of like they know things after the internet speaks about it. They work on the data world knowledge, right? So I think it's very important that you kind of read like articles, listen to like you're already doing, like listening to people who are like being frontier. Just listen to them and listen to like YouTube podcast and like reads a lot of Substack articles. People who are like thought leaders in this space are sharing a very deep insights in like Substack. Most of the internet, right, like it's done, content creation is done to please the algorithm. Substack is like very like community authenticity driven. I would suggest to keep up your knowledge up to date with that. And then you kind of have to be the director or architecture kind of a person to the AI, and then AI does the execution things for you, right? So I think the design decision is still that you something own, you don't outsource that to AI. At least this now, if you're outsourcing those judgments and decisions to AI, that's not really don't become a expert or seen as a credible decision maker, right? So I use AI as a thought partner. Let's say I want to explore agentic design system. I have this idea, I have this pain point, I brainstorm with it. So I use that as a thought partner, but you are the initiator and architect of those experiences. Yeah, don't leave it to AI. You direct it. That's the best way to use AI. Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, it sounds like you need a lot of AI fluency, and then you just delegate the job to you and then to the AI. Yeah, the next one. How do you navigate the early stages of development when exploring multivariants and discussing user flow with the engineers?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's more of like a framing and stakeholder collaboration skill, and less of like the design engineering or like the AI skill, because here you need to frame it when you are showing a project's early stage. You got to frame it like, okay, this is what we are trying to solve and accomplish at the stage of early development. And then you go with like multiple variants and concepts, and then they understand, and then the focus of the conversation from engineering or like product partners focused on that, right? We want to make sure which concept solves the problem, or sometimes we don't even know what the problem is. You're just exploring what helps us to get closer to the goals or opportunity we are trying to explore. I think it's more of like the early stage. You need to learn how to like frame your conversation with your stakeholders and engineers and stuff. It's simple as just stating these are the goal we are trying to accomplish, and simple as that. Just don't need to, I mean, it's not a rocket science, but I think just knowing how to frame early stage is very important. And I think this happens a lot like right now. So the design systems are not ready. So you want to just explore concepts and idea with like vibe coding and stuff like that. And that might be people's expectation. They might say, oh, this is not according to our brand. Then you say that's not the point. So you need to like frame it and push back more. Yeah.
Thank you. Next one, there are so many resources available. How do you narrow it down or determine what AI tool to use build a solid design stack?
How do you narrow it down or determine which AI tool is used to build? I think, this is a very hard problem in the industry right now. It's like every next day there's a new model and new tool. To be honest, like when I teach things through our workshops and training and stuff, I always tell people to understand the fundamentals of how AI works. Once you kind of know that, you start to realize, oh, everything is just like next cool thing, right? Like how LLMs, models, memory, all this works is almost the same. It's just like the capabilities are changing. So understand the foundations and fundamentals of how AI works. And once you understand it, you start seeing everything you add on top of it is just like add on. So I think the best way to learn, I tell, is to build something or try to solve a problem your company has, or like you personally have, or in your business or other business and stuff like that. I still tell to approach from the lens of like problem solving, and then having some experimentation mindset. I build fluency by rapidly experimenting. Okay, this new tool came up, let me try. Okay, what's working, what's not working. So I kind of try things out, and you kind of build like this intuition around it. So that's why I think design engineering is very helpful. It lets you like build things. So every time a new tool comes, I know this everybody doesn't have time, just spend like 30 minutes at least just experimenting and stuff like that. And they almost work the same way at the one point. Like once you use cursor, you can use like any vibe coding tools or like IDEs and stuff. The fundamental always remain the same. So when a new tool comes, you just read about it and you immediately know how to apply. A solid design stack, I have this 4 quadrants approach. In the academia and I teach. One is definitely the context, building like knowledge bases and all that stuff. Second one is like ability to build like prototypes, functional prototypes that you can use like Cursor, Cloud Code, or any of the things. They almost do the same right now. It's all about the context of what you give to the models, and models are getting capable. And the third quadrant is like automations. You can use like N8N or like just like LangChain or and like kind of automations and stuff. And the fourth quadrant is still remains your product thinking and problem solving. So that's how I kind of like think about it. Just pick one tool, and then you'll start to see they are almost the same. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the last one, like, would you recommend designers to take like a full stack developer course still for the foundation?
No, I would not recommend you to do that, like unless you want to become a product engineer. But for a design engineer, you don't need to become a full stack developer. And the thing, this is a mindset shift. Let's say if you're building a 0 to 1 product, and you don't know front end, you don't know back end, don't go and like to sit and like learn about it. First build it. That's how I learned it. I start building things. You can build things, full stack thing, just by telling like this is for the good thing about being a designer is like you kind of know what you want because we are so good conceptual thinkers. So now we can tell the AI to like do it. So let's say I have this card with like dynamic data, and what do I need from? Then the agent will tell you what to do. And this is something that it's a very interesting way is asking AI the questions and learning from it. So it almost become like a tutor to help you learn. So when I was doing like the animations and interactions and stuff, I was asking AI, how can I do it and what makes this? And so you're kind of like asking and learning. So use that as a learning medium. So um, don't do full stack thing. Just build a full stack product and just ask AI how to do it. And then you will eventually start like seeing. I would also recommend when the AI is writing, read what it's doing and also look at the code. That helps a little bit more. But I wouldn't go full stack learning the whole thing. That's not like worth the time, I feel, nowadays. But I would recommend to follow like a curiosity while you're building. So you see this component, oh, how is it this built and why is it built this way? So kind of learn from like building. That's like the best way to like do like full stack AI applications and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for the Q&A. Thank you so much, John. Yeah. So before we wrapping up, is there anything like we would like to ask John before? Okay, if nothing, then yeah, I would like to wrap up the session and just want to say thank you everyone. Thank you, John, so much for like today for sharing about this design engineer. And I hope, yeah, everyone like get some insight and yeah, like continue to use AI with the design as well. So also, oh, sorry, someone raised a hand. Okay. So yeah, if you haven't followed LinkedIn, our Instagram or Discord, so also feel free to do so. And yeah, thank you once again. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. We'll upload to YouTube in a week, so stay tuned. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.